Good evening, friends. Thank you for joining me live, and thank you for always passing me your useful comments and your emails pointing out to different topics. Now, today it's a very interesting day because we have news about Rhea Chakraborthy, and we've invited renowned lawyer, advocate Kieran Narayan to join us and explain exactly what the courts have said. Usually, what happens is whenever the court conveys anything to the public, they do it in a language that the layman can hardly understand. And from though we, sort of interpret it in different ways, the best thing is when it comes out of a lawyer's mouth. So I'm just waiting for Kiran to join us. So meanwhile, let me also talk to you about the case. Yeah, the Narcotic Controls Bureau today told the Supreme Court that it was not challenging the bail granted to actor Rhea Chakraborty in connection with a drug related probe linked to the death of film star Sushant Singh Rajput. The additional Solicitor General S.V. Raju told a bench of justices A.S. Bopanna and M.M. Sundresh that NCB is not challenging the bail, but the question of law should be kept open with regards to Section 27A of the Narcotics, Drugs, and Psychotropic Substances Act. The top court, which was hearing the NCB's petition against the Bombay High Court order, granted bail to Chakravarti. Rajput's girlfriend took note of the ASG's submission on a change in the anti drugs agency's stand on her bail, but clarified that the High Court judgment shall not be treated as a precedent in any other case. Having heard the ASG at this stage, the challenge of the order in so far as grant of bail may not be required. However, the question of law raised is left open to be considered in an appropriate case, and as such, the judgment may not be treated as precedent in any other case, the bench said. The NCB has charged Rhea under the stringent section 27A of the Narcotics, Drugs, and Psychotropic Substances Act that pertains to financing and harboring illegal drug trafficking. It entails imprisonment of up to 10 years and a bar on grant of bail. The High Court had said simply paying for a particular drug transaction does not qualify as financing drug traffic. The allegations against the applicant of spending money in procuring drugs for Sushant Singh Rajput will not therefore mean that she had financed illicit traffic, the High Court had said. It had also noted that harboring an offender as described under the Act would mean providing money for that person's drug consumption while also giving him shelter and food. While granting her bail on a personal bond of rupees 1 lakh, the High Court had observed in its order that Rhea did not have criminal antecedents and it was unlikely that she would tamper with evidence or affect the probe while out on bail. Sushant, for whom Rhea allegedly procured drugs, had no apprehension of arrest, and therefore the charge of harboring two could not be applied, it had said. The court had also dismissed the argument that Rhea's bail be rejected to send out a strong message to society. The court also held that a detailed interpretation of the NDPS Act and previous judgments of the Supreme Court showed that all offences under the Act were non bailable. Also, Section 27A can be invoked even if the quantity of the drug seized is not commercial. In India, a bailable offence is under which a person can be enlarged on bail soon after arrest. In non bailable cases, which include those of rape, murder, kidnapping, human trafficking, counterfeiting, and terrorism, the bail depends on the discretion of the court. However, in Ria's case, since there was no financing or harboring of drugs or its consumers, Section 27A could not be applied, the High Court said. So let me just see if Kiran has joined us. Just give me a second, friends, please. Yes, friends, he'll be joining us in 5 minutes. So let me just continue this. It's been over 3 years since actor Sushant Singh died. It has been reported that the actor died by suicide. Now, this is put forth by mischief makers, especially PR for Bollywood. However, there are no official reports that it suggested that it's a suicide. Everybody knows that it's a clear case of murder. Now, the CBI have provided a major update on the investigation into the death of the actor. The CBI stated that it has not yet concluded its investigation and is awaiting a response from the US regarding some technical evidence. The CBI officer mentioned that this response from the US could potentially help bring the case to a logical conclusion. A CBI officer told media, "We are still waiting for a response from the US on this technical evidence, which may help us take the case to a logical conclusion. The case is pending finalization because of this." In 2021, the CBI formally requested Google and Facebook, headquartered in California, to share any details of SSR's deleted chats, emails, or posts. This was done to gain a better understanding of the events leading up to the actor's death on June 14, 2020. Under the Mutual Legal Assistance Treaty, which is MLAT, between India and the US, both countries can access information for domestic investigations. Now, senior advocate Vikas Singh, who represented the actor's family, expressed unawareness about the request made to US authorities. He commented that he believes the CBI is prolonging the case. CBI is trying to give it a slow death. Now, Maharashtra Deputy Chief Minister Fadnavis also provided an update stating that the investigation is still ongoing and the credibility of the presented evidence is being examined. He said at first the information available was based on hearsay. However, some individuals asserted that they possessed substantial evidence regarding the case. In response, we reached out to them and requested that they submit the evidence to the police. So, here, friends, it's as we wait for Kieran to join us, let me just take a few comments of yours. Welcome, Lorna. Yes, justice for Sushant. Welcome, Zoya, Ushma, Narinder, Vidya. Welcome, Rhea. I hope it's something good and positive in the SSR case, says Zoya. Arti, welcome. Welcome, Maya. Always nice to see you. Zoya, if any negative, what will they do? We public know our SSR inside out. We will not spare them for sure. Total boycott Bollywood. Seriously, I didn't see this news anywhere. SSR case is finally getting justice. Let us hear what Kiran has to interpret about what the courts are saying. Welcome, Hema. Martin, thank you. Welcome, Nina and Amy. Welcome, Anu and CP and Anita. Welcome, Ranjita. Welcome, Simiraman and Smruti and Divya and Simiraman. Welcome, Sensible Life. Welcome to all of you. And Ree says, we need justice for Sushant Singh Rajput. It's not a joke and it's not fair. We fight 3 years right on and total boycott of Bollywood. Nipa, welcome. We have been waiting for years for justice for SSR. See, now the funny thing is, I was just watching a few seconds of Rhea's program in MTV, and there's some girl, I don't even know the format. There's some lady who's crying in front of Rhea, who's supposed to be one of those judges or whatever she is, and she says that Rhea consoles her and says that you do not know, how I've been maligned by people. I've been called names, and I've been, for the past 3 years, I've been, called all sorts of names, dismissed, and my work sabotaged. So you should not, take it, personally. You should get out of it. And can you imagine someone like Rhea, who we all know is accused number one, is actually speaking, acting as a rather a psychiatrist or a shrink for this woman. Can you imagine what sort of advice this woman would be giving? You know, so we have Kieran with us. So let me just add him.
Good evening,
Welcome,
Meena.
Kieran. Welcome. Viewers, as you know, Kiran is a renowned advocate from based in Bangalore, and he is the one who's been always coming whenever we discuss cases on Jia Khan's case or Janvi Kukreja or any other cases, because he makes the legal language more simple for us. So thank you so much, Kiran, for joining us.
Thanks, Meena. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, Kiran, you would have gone through what happened in the courts today regarding Rhea Chakraborty.
Yeah,
And all of us are not very clear about what they actually mean by this. And the only thing is, I see NCB in a negative light in this. So, could you please clarify and tell us what is the position now?
yeah. So it's a fairly straightforward thing, Meena. What's actually happened today is, as we're all aware, Jia Khan was granted bail by the Mumbai High Court, and once the High Court granted her bail, there was an appeal against that bail um, in the Supreme Court,
By
and
NCB?
by the NCB. That's
Mm,
right, by the central agencies.
yeah.
And so basically, today, what has happened is that the government has actually gone back to the court. The government had actually challenged the bail,
Okay.
and the government's now gone back to the court to say that it would not no longer press
Mm,
for the cancellation of bail.
okay.
So, which is to suggest that her bail will stay, and so there is not going to be any aggressive pursuit from the government unless new material comes before the government. They're not going to press for cancellation of bail. However, what I also see is that they have actually made a submission before the court that's section 27A, which was also, a part of. So I can actually, for the benefit of your viewers, Meena, I can actually read 27A to
Yes,
you.
please, please.
So it is actually punishment for consumption of any narcotic drug or psychotropic substance. So it says, whoever consumes any narcotic drug or psychotropic substance shall be punishable. And this is the section A that I'm about to read, which says, where the narcotic drug or psychotropic substance consumed is cocaine, morphine, or any other narcotic drug or any psychotropic substance, as may be specified in this behalf by the central government by notification in the official gazette, and the imprisonment for this was going to be for a term which may extend to 1 year, or with fine which may extend to 20,000 rupees, or both. So if if in simple man's language, if you know Rhea Chakrabarti uh, is booked under that section, she could attract imprisonment for a period of 12 months,
Hmm.
or she could also have a fine of 20,000 rupees, or if the court deems fit, then both. So she both serves time, as also she will have to pay the 20,000 rupees. So that question has been left open by our submissions before the Supreme Court, saying that we will want to deal with that at a later stage. But insofar as challenging the bail itself is concerned, we're not going to be doing that anymore. So that has been made clear by the central agencies, and that is the
So,
gist
so
of
is
what's
that is
happening
that
so
good news for the SSRians?
far. Well, I think I wouldn't say
I'm
it's.
still not very clear about it, Kiran. That's why I'm asking you.
Well, it can't be good news for them for sure,
Hmm.
because this is essentially to say that she's not going to go into prison anytime soon, or the
Okay.
fact that the Bombay High Court granted her bail,
Hmm.
is not going to be challenged anymore. So that much is clear, right? So
Hmm.
the government agencies are not going to press hard to cancel her bail. So that may not be good news for people who are hoping
So
to see her bail.
NCB has, in a sense, sort of cheated the SSRians.
Yeah, well, there's so much that's coming out in recent times, as you've been
Yes, absolutely.
looking at, there's Samir Wankade who's actually been talking about
Yes,
certain
yes,
bribes being paid
absolutely.
and so on.
Yeah,
So it's actually getting murkier by the day.
yeah,
There's no doubt that there is a lot that needs to be investigated. Given the passage of time, Meenaji, I'm not so sure
mm,
um, that I see Anita Verma come up and say that she's not
yeah,
clean.
yeah,
Does this mean she's all clean? No,
mm,
no, Anita, she's not clean.
mm,
All this means for now is that she's not going to go back to jail,
mm,
and that the central agencies, which had earlier challenged the Bombay High Court verdict
mm,
of granting her bail, that will remain as is. So she will stay on bail,
mm,
and it will protect her to the extent that she won't go behind bars for now.
mm,
But if she does suffer a conviction under 27A, then there is always a possibility that she will spend 12 months behind bars
mm,
and also have a liability of about 20,000 rupees if the
yeah.
court deems fit to impose those two, um, you know, provisions on her. So that's what it means.
So, Kiran, Ushma is saying so bail will protect her?
Temporarily, yes.
Yes,
It means that she doesn't go back into jail.
yeah. So, Zoya
Um,
is asking who has the authority to now challenge the bail if it can be? Can we, the public, in any way do it?
it's tough, given that the state is actually running this case, and it is the state that has decided. The state is prosecuting Rhea Chakraborty, and so you'll have to convince a court as to what you know potentially SSR's family could actually take this up. Uh, but then it's a tall order for them. I would say that at this stage, the material before the prosecutors may not be strong enough for them to push for a cancellation of bail. And I
Yeah.
see that in their wisdom, they've decided not to go ahead and press for bail or cancellation of
Kiran,
bail.
Kiran, see, recently the deputy CM, that is Devendra Fadnavis, said that see the case investigation is ongoing, and that immediately after that, the CBI said that they are in touch with America, that's Google, WhatsApp, for more somewhat more proof of what would be in Sushant's chats, etc. See, two things that I want to ask you, just want to clarify. One thing is that, see, even in mainstream media like Republic, all the WhatsApp chats between Kwan and Rhea Chakraborty were exchanged, where Jaya Saha had very clearly told uh, Rhea that you put so many drops into the water, he won't realize that, that there'll be a taste difference, and you can do it systematically every day.
Mhm.
So isn't that actually enough evidence that those WhatsApp chats, isn't it important?
It's important, it's admissible for sure. But I think what you're talking about, Meenaji, is one that will come up during the course of trial.
Yeah,
So we're actually at a stage where I guess charges will be framed. And once charges are framed, then there's a recording of evidence. And when there's a recording of evidence, all of this will absolutely come up. The court will need to rule on what's admissible and what's not. And the quality of that evidence is what I'm sure will be examined. Um, but yeah, that is something that would come up at a later stage in this whole case, as
yeah,
opposed to being prima facie. I think that's also the kind of material that kept her behind bars for a while.
yeah,
If you remember when this whole thing broke, this is information that the police had access to very early on, and so they were able to keep her behind bars for that period of time. And the fact that she was given bail subsequently by the Mumbai High Court, I would imagine. And now that the government agencies are not pushing for a cancellation of that bail, there seems to be more material before them. Obviously, it's been a while now, and I'm sure the charge sheets and the supplementary charge sheets would already be before the court. So the ASG, which is the Additional Solicitor General, in his wisdom, would have realized that it may not be prudent at this stage to press for a cancellation of bail. But I'm sure, or I hope, that they will do a good job of looking at the material when trial begins, and they're looking more closely at all the evidence that's available.
Ushma is asking, can family challenge this verdict against RC?
They can. They can put in a representation, but again, given the passage of time, I'm not sure it's going to be, I mean, it's certainly an effort and certainly worth trying, but they'll have to come up with something a lot more concrete as to why they would like for this to happen.
Yeah. Zoya is asking, so what happens next? Does she have to appear in front of the courts again for answers or not? Or what happens?
She remains an accused. She still remains an accused. She's just out on bail. This is not by any means of the imagination a clean chit for Rhea Chakraborty. It's not. What it is that she's enlarged on bail. Bail, a lot of times I think people get confused that when someone's granted bail, it's an acquittal. It's not. Bail is just, you know, personal liberty. It's a right. It's a fundamental
Yeah.
right. And so the courts, after, you know, looking at the nature of your offense and the material before it, at some point will deem that it's, you deserve to be, um, you know, not incarcerated for a prolonged period, even as you, even criminals have rights,
Mm.
and so the court, in its wisdom, would have felt that it's okay to enlarge her on bail with certain conditions, of course. In Rhea Chakrabarty's case, I think she's not allowed to travel overseas. I think there were a few bail conditions that were imposed, and so she will have to honor those conditions, but it by no means would be an acquittal.
Yeah. So Maya is asking, so in other words, NCB and hence government has diluted the case of Ria and hence SSR murder too, in spite of all the evidence collected so far.
No, I wouldn't say that because it's too early to make that call. I think there's a lot of material. I think again, like I said earlier, we make the mistake of judging or predicting outcomes too soon.
Mm.
This case is at a very early stage, insofar as the judicial process is concerned, and once the charges are framed and we go through greater detail, we'll then need to take a look at whether the witnesses are showing up in court, whether they're holding up to the statements that they made before the investigating agencies back then, whether they are under some kind of pressure to change their version, whether they don't show up at all of this is something that we've got to wait and watch. But at this stage, I wouldn't go as far as saying that the case has
They
been
are
diluted.
diluted.
Yeah.
Nirmala is asking, if these criminals are able to get away like this, it's encouraging for others to continue their activities. Very disappointing.
Look, I think we have to be mindful that the judicial process takes time, and certainly in a country like India, because of the volume of cases that the courts are inundated with, it takes time. It is frustrating. For every SSR or Jia Khan or Disha Salyan and so on, there are many other cases that are also before the courts which we don't hear of. And even if you look at it by way of prioritizing, I understand that this is a celebrity who's died and it's unfortunate. And yes, it's come out into the forefront. But the courts are also dealing with a number of such incidents that happen which don't come out before the media, and so the workload is immense. So I think we've got to allow for the court to function, and ensure that justice is done. But I wouldn't go as far as saying that people have gotten away scot free at this stage.
CP is asking, the entire case has shifted to narcotics case. We want to know who murdered him and why, and want to see them punished. He's saying that everything is being sidelined, and the main issue is not being looked at all.
So again, a murder charge is a 302. I don't believe that there is a murder charge. I think there is an investigation.
Mm.
I think it is still being treated, at least by the investigating agencies, as a suicide. Now, you and I may disagree with that version for the number of other material that is before us. But what we've got to resist is a temptation to kind of piece evidence at our end because we don't know all the loose ends. I'm not saying that there's going to be a clean investigation. That's not what I'm suggesting. What I'm saying is that we may not know the entire story. There may be good reason as to why he took his own life, or there may be very good reason as to why he was murdered. I don't believe that we have all of the information. Yes, there has been information that's come out in bits and pieces, which seems to suggest that there was foul play. and there's significant amount of that. But yeah, I don't think we should make those conclusions
Yeah.
just yet.
Zoya is asking, how long does someone get to stay out on bail?
So bail, well, bail is essentially till the court deems that you need to be on bail. I mean, there is no such thing as indefinite bail. I mean, they're out on bail. If fresh material comes up where her role is seen to be a lot more, and then the police feel the need to actually file a supplementary charge sheet, and she needs to be investigated all over again, there's a possibility that the courts could cancel bail. The other possibility, of course, is that she does not fulfill some of her bail conditions. She starts to slip up on that, and then the court will then take cognizance of that and then decide to cancel a bail. That's a possibility. But for now, she stays out on bail, and she has to cooperate with the investigating agency. She has to be a part of the judicial process. And yeah, that's
Yeah.
essential. Look,
Here,
sure. So
yeah,
yeah,
Kieran, I wanted to ask you something. It's okay. Like, they're contacting, CBS contacting USA for all this proof on the chats
yeah.
on WhatsApp and Facebook. But what about the people they have in hand? They have Paramveer Singh and they have Sachin Vaze, who, they were instructed to do all this by the Mahavikas Aghadi. It's very clear. And they have every information. Why can't they be cross-questioned? This is what I don't understand. From that is enough proof for them to nail anybody.
No, you're right. And so I'm not privy to whether these people have been pulled into this investigation. I must apologize. I don't know. But
No, they are all free. Paramveer Singh is free now.
so
He's not
no, when I say pulled in, I mean by recording statements.
questioned.
Uh,
Okay, yeah, yeah, okay.
yes, and a lot of times the investigating agencies may not be transparent about it at this stage. As you know, all of this will be before the courts. So, if there is indeed a link to these two people, as is being suggested, there's also a possibility that these people may have been spoken to. And what we will see is all of this starting to come out when the chart sheets and the supplementary chart sheets, if at all these people have been examined.
Yeah,
Because a chart sheet is where a lot more detail is going to be forthcoming.
yeah,
And so they could very well have been questioned, and their versions may have been recorded as well.
yeah. Zoya says, didn't she travel to Dubai or someplace recently and violate the terms? Can that not go against her? No,
If she
Zoya, she was not allowed to go. That I remember. Salman Khan had called her, invited her for the IFA Awards, but she was not allowed to go. So that's wrong. But here's a question from Pooja, Kiran.
Yeah.
20,000 is a bailable amount. Seriously, how can they give a bail on 27A? As we know that 20A is not bailable. This amount is a piece of peanut for her, as we see her lifestyle after SSR's murder.
So 20,000 is not, it's actually not what has been posted as bail. I think her bail amount,
Mm,
if I'm not wrong, was a lot
mm,
more. It may
mm,
have been a lakh, but again, a lakh is not too much for somebody with
mm,
her lifestyle, I would
mm,
imagine. So 20,000 is what she will have to pay. I know it
mm,
seems like a paltry sum, but
mm,
20,000 is what she will have to pay if she's convicted.
mm.
And we're not at that stage yet.
Yeah,
So it's only on conviction that she will have to pay a fine of 20,000, as also serve time of up to 1 year. Now,
yeah,
what could also happen, Meenaji, is the fact that she spent some time in custody already. So
yeah.
she will be given credit for that time spent. And
Mm,
then if there is any balance time left over, which can add up to a period of 12 months, then that is the time that she will need to serve, and there is parole and there is good behavior and early release and all of that. But that happens much later.
yeah. So there's a question from Vidya who's saying, though unrelated, how are Rahul and Sonia out on bail since 2015?
Because the case has not progressed very much. I suspect you're talking about the National Herald case.
Yes,
The
yes.
National Herald case, they have actually gotten bail,
Mm,
but the case has gone at a snail's pace. I think if you look at the people who are actually pursuing that matter, you'll find that there's not been I think the Congress party took a long time to furnish certain documents. You find that a couple of the accused and important ones at it, I think the treasurer, I forget his name there, Vora, He passed away. Oscar Fernandez passed away. They were accused in the same matter. They also posted bail. So the proceedings have gone at a snail's pace. And yeah, I go back to the judicial process, which has been, a little slow in this. But yeah, look, I think the onus is on the system to ensure that there is a speedy trial. It's
Yeah.
not happening in the national health case, as we know. But yeah, I mean, the truth of it is that they're out on bail for as
Yeah.
long as they have.
Yeah. Kiran, I don't know whether you can answer this, but anyway, let me ask you this. See, when the Honorable Judge Chandrachud said that they should not be troubled, for cases, they should not be pushed, into doing cases so quickly and all that. And yet, the Supreme Court opened its doors on Saturday for T-Star Setalwal's, hearing. And putting this on the side, see, as though that is most important, when actually I'm not talking about this case at all, SSR's case. I'm talking about the Aftab case. Okay. Aftab, cut that woman into so many bits, 40, 50, I don't know, 100 bits. And that was a case that was being discussed like hot potato at that time. So why isn't that case getting the same importance as a Deshdrohi like Tista Setalvad gets on a Saturday? You know, why? I mean, I'm sure. See, all of us have children now. I'm sure. Chandrachud sir also has two daughters. See, isn't this also a priority? I don't know whether you can discuss it, but isn't it a priority when you see that a daughter of someone has been chopped into bits, and we want to make sure that the person who killed her gets hanging? You know, you should be hung till death. I mean, those things are not relevant. And T-Star Setal was being given, allowed to come for a sing hearing on a Saturday. That too.
Yeah. So here's what I'd like to say. I think it's I think the judiciary is copying a fair bit of flack about this. There's a lot of people who actually blame the judiciary, but I think we should also look at the fraternity itself. There are senior lawyers who decide to really bring about a lot of pressure on the court. At the end of the day, somebody like Justice Chandrachud or his colleagues on the Supreme Court have also been at the bar before, right? And they've also been lawyers earlier. Now there are senior lawyers, whether it's in Delhi or in other parts of the country, who bring about a lot of pressure on the courts when something like this happens. The media gets involved, and it sheds a lot of negative light on the judicial process itself. And then you have people like Tista Setalvad who can summon up an international press. I'm not trying to say that the verdict or the outcome of the matter itself will be influenced by such pressures. It won't happen. I'm sure if our judiciary and people like Justice Chandrachud are well experienced to handle these matters with competence, and and they're people of very high integrity. But that said, I think there are also others who bring these matters up to the court, bring a lot of pressure on the courts. And I think Justice Chandrachud has brought it up to the public's notice and also has spoken about it in various forums, where he says that, it's not us that wants to open the doors of the Supreme Court at the middle of the night. It's you guys that come, tearing the entire system down, making a lot of hue and cry, and then bringing a lot of negative press on the courts itself. So you're putting pressure on the system. And I wouldn't entirely blame the judges themselves. I think the fraternity as a whole is to be blamed. I think there is also an ecosystem, as you know, Meenaji, which tries to push their own agenda. Is it fair? The answer is no, because this guy Aftab, deserves to be dealt with in the same manner that any other murderer needs to be dealt with. But unfortunately, I think the ecosystem and the press and the media all get into it, and bring about a certain amount of pressure on the courts to hear the matter.
Yeah.
Insofar as the outcome is concerned, I think the courts are well equipped to make the right decision, like they have
Yeah.
been. And yeah, I think it's unfair. I agree.
Yeah.
But insofar as the outcome is concerned, I think the courts are competent to handle it.
Pooja is asking, sir, any chance for the SSR case to go in fast track? What is the procedure for fast track?
The courts have to actually opine on that, and there has to be a good reason why. I think for some of us, SSR is a priority, and it should be, right? But there are countless other cases where similar things that happened to SSR would have happened to other people as well, and they would have happened prior to the SSR case. So the courts are actually obviously dealing with those matters as well. Insofar as pushing something through fast track, that completely falls within the ambit of the court, and also the state. If the state decides that yes, it wants to push something on fast track, um, because there is a huge public outcry, and then it's a possibility. But that's a decision for the court and the state.
Yeah. Maya is asking, with digital evidences of SSR's death being as early as 9:40 a.m., Peeping Moon, Tribune, Daily Telegraph, etc., have reported that. Can the Mumbai police not be pulled up for its web of lies? TOD not stated, time of death not stated, key maker, etc.
All
So
of
we're
this would
talking
be,
about,
yeah, all of this would be exploited at the time of trial.
yeah,
Unfortunately, there are leaks in the investigation, and that's how a lot of us come to know about what happened. Even if you don't remember the Sunanda Pushkar case, Meenachi,
yeah,
the lupus theory came out, and then
yeah,
the puncture marks, and then we saw Dr. Sudhir come up with his postmortem report, and the pressures that prevailed.
yeah,
So a lot of leaks happens, but then what starts to happen is that we start to build the case uh, away from the investigation process. We
yeah,
shouldn't do that. I think we should allow for the. At the end of the day, we don't have a choice.
yeah,
We have to
yeah,
still very much rely on the investigating agencies to
mm,
do a good job, and we hope they do a good job.
yeah,
There are black sheep in every investigating
yeah,
forums, but I don't think ideally it should be an exception and not the norm.
yeah. Neetu is saying, sir, don't you feel Mumbai police is also blamed for destroying SSR's murder evidences?
Well, firstly, we've concluded that it's murder, while the charge sheet is also the process that's about to begin is only looking at suicide. So I understand that we feel it could be a murder based on what we know, um, but um but I think there could be more material that will come to light as the trial begins.
Yeah. So the video images showed two dead bodies very clearly. One was SSR and the other. Who's going to come out with the truth? Said Kunzru. See, a lot of these people, Kiran, are from outside India. Most of them are from abroad and
Yeah.
settled in different places like Malaysia, in the islands, and all that. And still, they are so worried about the SSR case. This has been happening for the third year. Can you imagine the kind of attention that this case is getting? And Kunzru is one such person settled outside.
Yeah. No, I look. I think every now and then, a certain incident that takes place in society kind of riles up the society, riles up society as a whole. And I think SSR was one such case. I remember Jia Khan was one such case. Jessica Lal was one such case. It pricks the conscience of the wider society, and it's quite natural for a lot of people, to associate themselves with, a guy who came from very basic backgrounds and tried to make it big. And it was a positive story, which was cut short in tragic ways. So I think we fully understand the emotion that goes into wanting the right thing to happen in his situation, and it should too. But you know, as much as all of this happens, something that I see in court every day is so many others that also happen, which
Mhm.
go unreported.
Yeah,
Um, you
absolutely.
know, and I think I'm in no way trying to make excuses. I'm only stating to you what the reality of
Yeah.
our system is. Just very very recently. Just to give a sense of perspective, there was a 64-year-old man accused of sexually um, violating a 11-year-old girl. Um, and so, what do you do? It's very unfortunate. And in this case, you really need to feel for the girl because she's going to be impacted for life. She's only 11, and she
Mhm.
has, and she has to get married. She has to have a normal life, and how she expected to have all of that when such things happen.
Mhm.
So there is also that's before the courts.
Mhm.
So there is so many such things that go unreported. Um, so we are living in a society where these things do happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we've just got to have a sense of perspective, and we just have to hope that we get more things right than wrong.
Yeah. Rhea is saying, honestly speaking, friends and Mina, the information that Sir is giving, it still seems as it will be quite difficult for SSR justice to get justice, as we have that many corrupt people covering in the SSR case. So she seems very disappointed. Rhea is a lady who, also runs live, programs in Twitter,
Mhm.
chats where a lot of the people discuss the SSR issue. So whoever is coming now online, they're all fighting for SSR since the last 3 years.
And I think it's good. It's good to see that these things have been kept alive. Um, and it's not being insensitive. It's important to actually ensure that we push for justice. Um, and a lot of us strongly believe in what we are seeing. But I think there also has to be a sense of balance, and that is where we have to give time to the investigating agencies. It's very well, possible that things could go, away from what we would prefer for it to happen, and we've got to be mentally prepared for that. I know it's difficult, but what we should try and desist from doing is running a trial based on limited information that we have, because I still believe that the chart sheet will have a more comprehensive, um, you know write up on what has gone on, as opposed to what we know at this stage.
Neetu is saying, thank you, Meenaji and Kiranji. A lot of the people are saying that you're explaining things very lucidly so that they can understand it. So thank you, Kiran, for that. Now, Zoya is saying all the chats in which Rhea is discussing how to drug SSR by putting what in his tea and letting him sip, are those not enough against her? What exactly do the courts want as evidence?
You're absolutely right, Zoya. I mean, see, look, if that material is brought before the court when trial begins, I'm sure the state will quiz her on those things and ask her what she meant by it. And uh, equally, we've got to be prepared that her lawyers will prepare her to answer those questions in a certain way. But I think we should allow for the trial to begin, and hopefully all of these things that we have read about in the press, and where these things have come out, will be confronted with, and hopefully we get her true story out, and hopefully a conviction if she's indeed guilty of some of the things that we find as material.
Priya Kannade is saying, what about CCTV near the SSR house? What about the hard disks found in the river? So most of these people are asking, with all these evidence available, yet they're not able to come to
Yeah.
any conclusion.
So I don't think, yeah, I wish to reiterate one point. I think I see a pattern of questions coming in where, people seem to have concluded that it's all over and done with insofar as Rhea is
Yeah,
concerned, and she's
because it's three
free.
years, yes.
No, that's not the case. That she's very much an accused at this
Mhm.
stage, and I think if any relief has been given to her, it's by way of a bail,
Mhm.
where she has some personal liberty, but she has to satisfy conditions of a bail, and she's doing that. But by no means is she a free woman. Insofar as what was found in the river and what was found elsewhere as material,
CCTV,
as
yeah.
evidence, that will be examined during the course of trial.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, we'll just have to wait for all of that to come through.
Kiran, from my side, I just want to ask you now. See, whenever things are destroyed, as in CCTV footage and such material, uh, why cannot these people be pulled up, by the courts or I don't know which sort of authority for destroying evidence?
So Meenaji, I think again,
Sorry, I sound rather naive in that.
no, no, I think what happens is,
Mm,
if there's definite, evidence of destruction of material,
Yes.
or there's, then the courts, in fact, it's a criminal offense to destroy any evidence.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And there are provisions within the code to penalize people who go out of their way to. If you remember Sachin Vaze's case,
Huh.
and
Yes.
his
Until
exploits Antilla,
yes. Yes.
and also trying to bump off the guy.
Yeah.
He was also trying to clean up evidence,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it by no means makes it right to
Yeah.
destroy evidence.
Yeah.
But then again, if they've been able to extract information after having found that hard drive in the river,
Yeah.
um, then that material again will be part of the charge sheet or the supplementary charge sheet,
Yeah.
and it would be recorded, it would be marged, and we'll have to wait for that to be spoken about in open court.
Yeah. Why I'm asking is, Kiran, because I found these people tampering with it. For example, the postmortem report of Disha Salian, you know, it showed injury marks in her private parts. Okay, as if that would of course be either rape or whatever. After that, they showed another postmortem report much a year later where that had been rubbed off, you see. And in between that, interviews with the parents saying that nothing happened to her, interviews with her boyfriend, that nothing of the sort that media is saying has happened is happening. So, as you understand, a lot of people trying to cover up, what is the truth. So when they have, and you say that the strict action can be taken against those who tamper with it. So these are also things that they can take action. For example, in Cooper Hospital, the postmortem that was done, it was done not during daylight. They need a particular light for that, and all these doctors, they gave a wrong report. So you mean to say all these things can be examined at a later stage?
Absolutely, I think it's important for the prosecuting agency, in this case, whether it's the CBI or the state,
Yeah.
um, to absolutely go into some of this detail. And I'm sure the courts also will expect for some of these things to be satisfactorily responded to.
Yeah.
Uh, so you can't brush a lot of these things under the carpet. If there are procedural flaws in how the postmortem was conducted,
Yeah.
uh, that is something that needs to be brought out. Um,
Pooja is asking, sir, there should be a timeline for CBI for solving any case?
there's nothing on paper, Pooja. The agencies can always say that they're waiting on certain information to come forward or come forth from somebody. In this case, maybe like what Meenaji said about some digital forensic work that's due to come from America or wherever else. So while they're waiting on that, you can't actually come to a conclusion on some of the assumptions that may have come up during the course of investigation. So once that material is back, then they may be able to take a conclusive stand on yes, something did happen, did not happen. This is the quality, and also maybe fresh material. If they're able to extract those devices and get out information, then so they may be waiting on that, is what I feel.
Yeah. So Zoe is saying, thank you, Kiranji, for explaining things so well to us.
Pleasure.
Yeah. And Jessie is saying, I'm sorry, the history, now she stopped speaking about the Aryan case in the Cordelia Cruz, that NCP can be compromised, hard to trust the agencies. Now, I agree with Jessie because if you look at the Jia Khan case also, the NCB did a very shoddy job when the second, the case was taken up again by the NCB courts. They did not bring the proof back, or they did not discuss anything. As far as the mother Rabia Khan was concerned, she said that, see, I was shocked when I went into the court. Within seconds, they just brought the case out and they closed it. There was nothing, no debate, nothing about it. And what about the proof that was shown by way of the clothing that she was wearing and how it was changed? So she said nothing happened. They just said that, see, there's nothing against Suraj Pancholi, that he did abetment in the suicide case.
I remember having a conversation with you, Meenaji, on I think on
Yes.
discussing Jia Khan.
Yes.
Look, what is very, very crucial is the first 24, 48 hours when there's a commission of an offense or when an incident takes place. That's when, you either get very good quality evidence, or it's also possible for you to kind of clean up some evidence. And, you know, I think whenever we've seen situations where, and at that stage you also would agree that there is not a lot of press, there's not a lot of media attention, so you're dealing with maybe a police station, maybe a DCP, who are important in the system, but they've not heard the loud noise of a media channel talking about a certain incident in such with such vigor. So it's fully plausible that they may be reckless in those early stages of investigation, or deliberately trying to clean up a crime scene or whatever else, um, you know for various reasons. If that did happen, then as the case builds on, it's very difficult to reintroduce some of those pieces that have gone missing,
You know,
and consequently it's also very difficult for you to secure a conviction 10 years down the line. So
yeah,
I agree that
yeah.
we're dealing with a system of that kind,
You
but
know,
it's very, very important for a thorough investigation to happen from the very first minute. And if that doesn't happen, then we end up with a bad outcome.
Kiran, what you say is so true because, see, I can't mention who said it, but apparently in the courts, the lawyers who are speaking in these cases, okay, I'm getting some feedback, is that why are you going to press? Why are you talking to media? Okay, media should not know about this. You understand, Kiran?
Yeah,
And we're not talking about mainstream media because mainstream media is all support for them. So they seem to be now scared of even YouTubers. Okay, and this is very, very. This is a good thing as far as we are concerned, which means that they're scared of the truth coming out. You know.
I think social media, as we have frequently talked about, has changed the dynamics a little bit. So we're no longer dependent on a crime reporter to report a crime and be convinced about what his views of a crime are. There are various other outlets for us to express ourselves, and especially people who are close to certain things. Now, in this case, certainly with Jia Khan, her mother was all over the press, and she was also out in various other forums talking about what happened to her daughter as she knew it. And it gave her a voice. It gave a lot of people, a perspective that was different to the one that was being floated. And so that was hard news for people in power. So it tends to happen, and I think it's a good thing, but it's a double-edged sword. Sometimes we go to the extent of investigating crimes ourselves
Yeah.
without having enough material before us. So
Yeah.
I think we've got to be a little careful about it.
Minal is asking, good evening, sir. Can't the sisters approach Supreme Court or CBI to know the status of the charge sheet?
Of course they can. Of course they can, and I'm sure they will get to know. Look, if there is sensitive material there that the state does not want to be leaked early, then it's going to be held back. But it's well within the rights of SSR's family to get a sense of what's happened and how the investigating agencies have treated this crime. So absolutely, they're well within their right to seek the same.
Yeah. Mina is asking, Minakashi, SSR friends around him, no one did get arrested now itself, his cook and others. Why this is the procedure to handle any cases? But SSR, nothing, nothing. Here, Kiran, see, you remember the Michael Jackson case where the doctor was involved in the death of Michael Jackson. You remember?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and he got off with a few 1 year or something. He got off, and he's
yeah.
living his life very easily. So, Meena, it's not only here, but even in the USA, this is happening. So,
No, in
yes,
any part of the world. I mean,
yeah,
I just want to also add one other case that Meena may or may not know of. There was a very famous case. It was it brought about worldwide attention.
Yeah.
It was to do with O.J. Simpson. He was an American
Yes.
footballer.
Yes. Yeah.
His case, I mean, he had actually bludgeoned his wife to death,
Mm.
or at least that's what he was accused of, and he was running away from the crime scene, and it was a good 2 hour chase to actually have him arrested. And pretty much all of America thought that OJ had killed his wife, Nicole Simpson, I think was her name. But there was a very famous criminal lawyer from Canada by the name of Ray Cochran who defended OJ in that case. And the entire prosecution theory that OJ Simpson was wearing a particular glove when he actually hit his wife, and that glove belonged to him, was called into question. And it's a very famous line. It says, "If it doesn't fit, you must acquit." And what it goes on to talk about is if the glove did not fit, then OJ should be acquitted, and he ended up being acquitted. Much to the outrage of all Americans,
Yeah.
and then it became a white versus black thing, because
Yeah.
OJ was
Mm.
a
Immediately it becomes like that. Yes.
yes, he was a black American hero, football hero, and all the blacks were lined up with him, and then white America was all sympathetic to Nicole, and in the middle of all of that, the jury decided to acquit OJ when overwhelming public opinion as also evidence
Yeah.
was against him.
Yeah. Maya is asking, Kiran sir, in Vaze case also, though NIA found him guilty of murder, they have not named the people who gave him orders to do it. He could not have acted on his own. No motive, his boss PBS let off.
Um, Look, some of these things are very difficult to prove, and what happens is, like, whoever is actually orchestrating some of these things behind the scenes, unless there is real good evidence, like whether there is, by way of a message or some such thing, if Sachin Vaze has actually acted on oral orders of somebody, right? I think he's been made an approver in one of the cases, if I'm not wrong. Um, so then he's going to, you know, uh, put out a statement saying this is what happened. But the person he's making accusations against also has rights, and he's just going to say, "Where's the evidence? I never said anything like that."
Yeah.
And if there's no concrete evidence, you can't,
Mm.
unless there is good, strong circumstantial evidence or physical evidence, you can't throw someone behind bars.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunately the way things work, even if in this case there were oral orders from somebody higher up.
Yeah. Neetu is saying, if it's not murder, why Rane family always shouts we know SSR Disha has been raped and murdered? Metaphor
I think I
Narayan
think
Rane.
I think there is obviously, it's Rani family is also in politics. I think the fingers were pointed at the the senior Rani's previous political party, and so there's a lot of angst and axe to grind, I guess. I'm not suggesting that they may not know. I'm just saying that it's generally taken with a pinch of salt because at the end of the day, it's two politicians going against each other.
Kundru is saying, I think if a private company hired by SSR fans that is not under any pressure is given the charge of investigating the case, it will be solved in no time.
You can't have a private company investigate a public crime. There's very clear laws on who can investigate, uh, crime in India, and it's always the state or the central government agencies. So this cannot be left to the discretion of, or rather, the investigating findings of a private agency.
Yeah. Zoya is saying, just curious, in India, are there any groups, organizations that can fight against the court's decision in any matter if the general public want to oppose it and feel justice has been served?
Yeah, I think, I mean, what we spoke about earlier, likes of Tista Setalvad and others, leverage on private, groupings of people or academics or NGOs to fight their battle in court. So they're well funded. If you look at some of the Naxal cases that actually come up before the Naxalites who get arrested or killed or whatever else, some of their matters are also fought in courts by private groups who come together for a cause or that they believe in or is one of their comrades and so on. So yes, it does happen, and there's always the public interest litigation as an avenue for people to go to the courts and say that something has happened which is not right for society, and so justice needs to be done. But you need to make a good case of it.
Yeah. Also, Kiranji, as you've been also following the Janvi Kukreja case, and
Yes.
you've come live with the mother on many of our sessions. Now, the case is still ongoing, and I'm sure you must be getting information about that. And she cannot speak at the moment, but she said the moment she gets the chance, she will tell us what is happening. So please, viewers, do not think that we're not on that case. We are still following it up, and we will keep you informed as and when something concrete happens. And Kiran has been a very important part of that case as well as the Jia Khan case, as well as SSR case. See, I admire Kiran a lot because see, whenever you see in only in certain channels, you have advocates speaking so boldly and without fear, and also the fact that see he speaks so clearly that any layman can understand what he says. Because whatever we read on Twitter, on social media, that comes from this bar and law and all that is very complicated, and it takes us a long time to understand. Though it's only 2 or 3 lines, the legal talk that they the jargon that they have, it's very difficult for us to understand that. So I'd like to thank you, Kiran, for sparing us this time. As you know,
Thank,
friends, he's very busy, and he came running to for the show. And thank you so much for coming and always, clarifying the questions that our viewers have.
thank you, Minaji. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind. Thank you.